Welcome to Pageant Archive, the chronicle of women empowerment in the world of fashion, runway and pageantry.
Today let us take a look at the first Miss World winners per country. To date, there are 36 countries who clinched the blue crown of Miss World. Some countries brought home with maximum of 6 crowns already, some have garnered 5, 4, 3, 2 crowns, 1 crown, and still many countries yet to bring home the Miss World, the prestigious crown. Let us meet the very first winners of each country. The country Argentina got their first Miss World in 1960, held on November 8, 1960 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom. 39 candidates competed for the Miss World. The winner was Norma Capagli, and she was crowned by racing driver Sterling Moss, who served as one of the judging panel. Up to the present time, Argentina has 2 Miss World crowns already. Penelope Plummer of Australia won the Miss World 1968 pageant, which was held on November 14, 1968 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London. She won the very first Miss World crown for her country during the 18th edition of the Miss World pageant. Now, Australia has 2 Miss World crowns already. Miss World 1969 was the 19th edition of the Miss World pageant, held for the first time at the Royal Albert Hall on November 27, 1969, broadcast for the first time in colour by the BBC. 50 delegates vied for the crown won by Eva Ruberstaedter of Austria. To date, Austria has 2 Miss World crowns already. The country Bermuda clinched their first Miss World crown in 1979, during the 29th edition of the Miss World pageant, held on November 15, 1979 at the Royal Albert Hall in London, UK. The winner was Gina Swainson, who bested 69 other candidates. Brazil got their first Miss World crown in 1971 by Lucia Pet-Oral. With 56 entrants, Miss World 1971 was the 21st Miss World pageant, held at the Royal Albert Hall in London, England, United Kingdom, on November 10, 1971. China obtained their first blue crown in 2007. Miss World 2007 was the 57th edition of the Miss World pageant, held at the Crown of Beauty Theatre in Sanya, China, on December 1, 2007 with 106 contestants. Tatyana Kukurava of the Czech Republic crowned Zhang Zilin of China as her successor at the end of the event. To date, China has 2 Miss World crowns already. Tatyana Kukurava won the first Miss World crown for Czech Republic in 2006. To date, Czech Republic has 2 Miss World crowns already. A total of 104 countries competed in this 56th edition of the Miss World pageant, held on September 30, 2006 at the Sala Kongresowa, Warsaw, Poland. It was the first time ever that the pageant was held in the continental Europe. In 1982, Dominican Republic won their first Miss World crown through Maria Cela Alvarez, besting 67 other beautiful candidates. Miss World 1982 was the 32nd edition of the Miss World pageant, held on November 18, 1982 at the Royal Albert Hall in London, UK. Egypt brought home their first Miss World crown in 1954. Miss World 1954 was the 4th edition of the Miss World pageant, held on October 18, 1954 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom. 17 contestants competed for the crown. Denise Ferrier of France crowned her successor Antigone Costanda of Egypt. The country Finland obtained their first Miss World crown in 1957 by Marita Lindahl. Miss World 1957 was the 7th edition of the Miss World pageant, held on October 14, 1957 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom. 23 candidates competed for the Miss World crown. Denise Perrier brought home the blue Miss World crown for France in 1953. Contestants from 15 countries participated in this year's pageant. Miss World 1953 was the third Miss World pageant, held at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom on October 19, 1953. Perrier was also the first Miss World winner to wear a Miss World sash. The country Germany earned their first Miss World crown in 1956 by the beautiful Petra Sherman. Miss World 1956 was the sixth edition of the Miss World pageant, held on October 15, 1956 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom. 24 contestants competed for title of Miss World. To date, Germany has 2 Miss World crowns already. Ksenia Sukhanova of Russia crowned Kayana Aldorino of Gibraltar as her successor for Miss World 2009. It was the 59th edition of the Miss World pageant, held at the Gallagher Convention Centre in Johannesburg, South Africa, on December 12, 2009. 116 contestants competed for title of Miss World. Greece won the Miss World title for the first time in 1996. Miss World 1996, the 46th edition of the Miss World pageant, took place at the M. Chinnaswamy Stadium, Bangalore, India on November 23, 1996. At the end of the event, Irene Skliva of Greece was crowned as Miss World 1996 and was the first Greek to win the title. Contestants from 80 countries and territories participated in this year's pageant. Jennifer Hassan brought home the first title of Miss World for Grenada in 1970. Miss World 1970 was the 20th anniversary of the Miss World pageant, held on November 20, 1970 at the Royal Albert Hall in London, United Kingdom. 58 contestants competed for the Miss World title. Miss World 1985, the 35th edition of the Miss World pageant, was held on November 14, 1985 at the Royal Albert Hall in London, UK. 78 contestants from all over the world competed, which was clinched by Hólmfríður Karlsdóttir of Iceland, giving Iceland's first Miss World crown. To date, Iceland has 3 Miss World crowns. The country of India with 6 Miss World crowns to date obtained their first blue crown in 1966. Miss World 1966 was held on November 18, 1966, in London, England. The title was won by Rita Faria from India, making her the first Indian woman to win the Miss World title, besting 50 other delegates from around the world. The country Ireland's first victory in the history of the Miss World pageant was in 2003 by Rosanna Davison. 106 contestants competed in this year's 53rd edition of the Miss World pageant, which was held at the Crown of Beauty Theatre in Sanya, China, on December 6, 2003. It was the first time that the Miss World pageant held in China. Israel's Lina Bargil was crowned as Miss World 1998, giving the country's first Miss World title. This was the 48th edition of the Miss World pageant, and was held on November 26, 1998 at the Lake Burjaya Mahe Resort in Mahe Island, Seychelles. 86 delegates from around the world competed for the crown. With 4 Miss World crowns at present, Jamaica's Carol Joan Crawford was the first to secure a blue crown in 1963. Miss World 1963 was the 13th edition of the Miss World pageant, was held on November 7, 1963 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom. There were 40 candidates competed for the title. Vanessa Ponce of Mexico was crowned Miss World 2018. It is the first victory of Mexico in the history of the Miss World pageant. With 118 entrants, Miss World 2018 was the 68th edition of the Miss World pageant, held at the Sanya City Arena in Sanya, China, on December 8, 2018. Corinne Roth-Schaefer, Representing Holland was Miss World 1959. It was the 9th edition of the Miss World pageant, held at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom on November 10, 1959. It was the first edition to be televised by the BBC. 37 contestants competed for the Miss World. She was the first to get the Miss World crown, and to date, there are 2 Miss World crowns for Holland or Netherlands. Miss World 2001 was the 51st edition of the Miss World pageant, held at the Super Bowl of Sun City Entertainment Centre in Sun City, South Africa, on November 16, 2001. Priyanka Chopra of India crowned Igbani Dergo of Nigeria as her successor at the end of the event, besting 92 other delegates. This is the first time Nigeria won the title of Miss World. Peru's Madeline Hardick Bell was crowned Miss World 1967. She was the first to secure the title for her country, besting 53 other delegates, although at present, there are already 2 Miss World crowns for Peru. This was the 17th edition of Miss World pageant, which was held at Lyceum Ballroom, Londres, Reino Unido in November 16, 1967. Miss World 2013 was the 63rd edition of the Miss World pageant, held at the Bali International Convention Center in Bali, South Kuta, Indonesia, on September 28, 2013. With 127 entrants, Yu Wengxia of China crowned Megan Young of the Philippines as her successor at the end of the event, marking the only time to date that the Philippines has won the Miss World title. In 1989, the country Poland won their first Miss World crown through Aneta Krejlika, who was the first Eastern European person to win the competition. Miss World 1989, the 39th edition of the Miss World pageant, was held on November 22, 1989 at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Centre. 78 contestants took part in the pageant. It was the first time in history that Miss World ventured overseas. To date, Poland has 2 Miss World crowns. With 2 Miss World crowns to date, Puerto Rico got their first crown in 1975. Miss World 1975 was the 25th edition of the Miss World pageant, held on November 20, 1975 at the Royal Albert Hall in London, UK. 67 contestants took part in the pageant, won by Willia Merced of Puerto Rico. She was crowned by Anne-Line Creel of South Africa. Julia Kurachkina won Miss World 1992, giving Russia their first crown. Miss World 1992 was the 42nd edition and was held on December 12, 1992 at the Palace of the Lost City, Sun City Entertainment Centre, Sun City, South Africa. 83 delegates from different countries competed for the crown. Currently, Russia has 2 Miss World crowns. South Africa brought home their first Miss World crown in 1958 with Penelope and Coelen. Miss World 1958 was the 8th edition of the Miss World pageant, held on October 13, 1958 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom. Candidates from 20 countries participated in this year's pageant. She became the second woman from Africa to win the title after Egypt in 1954. Currently, South Africa has 2 Miss World crowns. The country Spain received their first Miss World crown in 2015, which was won by Mireia Lalaguna, defeating 113 other delegates. It was the first time in the history of Miss World that Spain won the pageant. Miss World 2015 was the 65th edition of the Miss World pageant, held at the Crown of Beauty Theatre in Sanya, Hainan, China, on December 19, 2015. Miss World 1951 was the first Miss World pageant, held at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom on July 29, 1951. Kiki Håkansson of Sweden was announced as Miss World 1951. This is the first victory of Sweden in the history of the pageant. Hawkinson is also the only winner to be crowned wearing a bikini. 27 contestants from 7 countries participated in this year's pageant. Up to date, Sweden has 3 Miss World crowns. Defeating 76 other delegates from around the world, Giselle Laurent from Trinidad and Tobago was crowned Miss World 1986, giving its country their first Miss World crown. It was the 36th edition of the Miss World pageant, which was held on November 13, 1986 at the Royal Albert Hall in London, United Kingdom. The country Turkey won their first Miss World crown in 2002 by Israel and outsmarted 87 other delegates. Miss World 2002, the 52nd edition of the Miss World pageant, was held on December 7, 2002 at the Alexandra Palace in London, United Kingdom. United Kingdom's Rosemary Franklin was crowned Miss World 1961, bested 36 other candidates from different countries around the world. Miss World 1961, the 11th edition of the Miss World pageant, was held on November 9, 1961 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom. She gave the country's first Miss World crown, but up to date, United Kingdom has 5 Miss World crowns already. Miss World 1973 had 54 delegates vied for the crown, which won by Marjorie Wallace of United States, giving USA their very first Miss World crown. Miss World 1973 was the 23rd edition of the Miss World pageant, held on November 23, 1973 at the Royal Albert Hall in London, United Kingdom. Up to date, USA has 3 Miss World crowns already. Venezuela's Susana Duigan brought home their very first Miss World crown in 1955. Miss World 1955 was the 5th edition of the Miss World pageant, held on October 20, 1955 at the Lyceum Ballroom in London, United Kingdom. 21 contestants competed for the crown. This was the first time that a winner had been crowned with the crown on her head. As of the present time, Venezuela has 6 blue Miss World crowns already.
Thank you so much for watching. Before leaving, please do click the like, subscribe and get notified buttons.